My name is Julia Boughton. I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania, 23-year veteran of the Airforce, just retired last year, and so I needed to find another career. I've always loved backyard gardening. I thought, okay, maybe I could do this on a larger scale as a career. But I discovered the Rodale Institute Farmer Veteran Training Program. After attending the program and graduating last November, I went back to Colorado and I started avidly looking for somewhere to grow. And a friend of mine has a bunch of acreage with an abandoned soccer field. And she said, I can't use the soccer field. It's growing nothing but weeds. Can you help me do something good with this land and actually produce something? I've been growing and producing food this year, Piccolo Fields Farm, and I've been selling to customers in the Colorado Springs area. Right now, I'm just a beginning vegetable farmer, very small market garden style.
Okay. Most gardens involve tons and tons of tillage, and every time you till, then you're just ripping up particularly the mycorrhizal fungi in the soil and releasing carbon, releasing organic matter, all of this. So what we have found is that we go to a system where in between the cash crops, we plant a very highly diverse cover crop mix. And we like a lot of flowering species in there as well. And the flowering species, particularly, they attract a lot of the beneficials that prey on the pest, that can, prey on your vegetables that you plant in there. So we want to build a habitat for the beneficials. That's key. Then we let those cover crops grow, and then you have an option. So you talked about potentially integration of livestock or whatever. So even in market gardens, you can do that. So you could bring in chickens and chicken tractors, that kind of thing, and have them move across and forage on the cover crop. You can even bring in sheep or whatever to eat those blocks of cover crops in your market gardens and to add fertility and biology. So what you do is you do this on the cover crop. Okay, so this is even before you plant the vegetable cash crop. Right. Yeah. So it has zero to do with the vegetable crop whatsoever. You can avoid the FSMA implications and all of that by doing this with the cover crop. And then the cash crop is planted, whether that's tomatoes or beets or lettuces or whatever is planted after that. Another thing that we do, we can either do a roll down of the cover crop and plant directly into that, or a lot of times if we need that soil really friable, then we'll go in and we'll do a meltdown of the cover crop. And the way we do that is we just take a silage tarp. They're white on one side, black on the other. And so depending on the time of the year, we'll either have the white side up and the black side up, depending on whether we want to keep the soil warmer or cooler, right? And we'll just tarp the cover crop, and use sandbags on the edges to hold it down.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, and just melt it down, and as you melt it down, then earthworms just go crazy up underneath there, and it creates a really, really good bed for the next cash crop to come in. Yeah. But the other thing that we like to do, though, is when we have the active cash crops in there, then we're going to maintain the diverse cover crop on the borders, all around and in between our blocks and that kind of thing. And again, especially with a lot of flowering species, so that we're always harboring our beneficials. So anytime we have aphids or anything else that wants to come in, we've got beneficials being harbored right there to immediately go to work on them. Wow. With all of this diverse cover crop and the flowering species, then they create strong mycorrhizal associations in the soil. And mycorrhizal fungi are a plant's principal immune system against fungal pathogens. So what are the two key issues that you always have? Pest and fungal disease. Yeah. Right? So you can combat both of those with that. And then the other thing that we do that we have found works well is companion planting. And so just as an example, like tomatoes, so we'll have tomatoes down the center of our road, and then we'll plant an herb like basil or something like that on one side of the tomatoes, and then maybe like a red leaf lettuce or something like that on the other side of the row. So we always have these companion plantings, and we like to work in triplets on that. And that fosters a more diverse soil biological component and functionality in the soil. And it also helps protect and confuse fungal pathogens, and it confuses the pest.
I'm just beginning out, and I'm starting very small, and I'd never considered livestock in my future. But honestly, after watching part of this documentary, I would seriously consider looking into that in my future. Just beginning, it's my first year growing. I'm actually growing right now on an abandoned soccer field.
Really?
That I basically turned over earlier this year. I had to till it because it was all old sod and everything. Tilled it, and I shaped all the beds myself by hand.
Wow.
And what I found was that this year there were so many bluebirds that were going and eating my hornworms, and were the grasshoppers that were like everywhere in the Colorado plains.
Yes.
Starting from zero knowledge to having my own vegetable garden farm this year and selling and having a customer base was huge. And in the future, if I incorporate, obviously expand, I had never actually considered that, but honestly, what you're teaching makes so much sense. All about building up the soil.
Anytime you can reintegrate animals back into the system, then you get this incredible biological boost and explosion of biology in there that just works super well. So, and the reason being is because we're putting it back into ecological context. We have to remember that animals and insects and birds and all of this always existed within our ecosystems. And when we remove any one of those components, then we have, faulty ecosystem, an ecosystem that is not fully intact.
Building up the ecosystem, I guess maybe I would start small with chickens.
Well, poultry are excellent, and you can have, laying hens are great, and you can have them contained within the tractors, the movable houses, so that you can move them anywhere you want, and of course there's no floor to it, right? So they're free to forage and eat the insects and the worms and the grasses and the forbs and all of that. Or broilers work real well. We do turkeys that way, we do ducks that way. So there's a whole array of options with poultry that would work super well for you in the gardening situation. And we love them because, again, we can control them so readily through our garden blocks, and they just work super. And they're incredible at applying fertility. Their manure is nitrogen rich, phosphorus rich, all of that, as well as a lot of other elements. We've done a lot of this phytonutrient research with Dr. Van Vliet, and what we're finding is that when you incorporate poultry into that situation, both the eggs and the meat from the chickens is much more phytonutrient rich because they're eating the diverse cover crops and the bugs and everything else. But the resultant vegetables that you're producing and herbs and all of that are much more phytonutrient rich. So everything benefits from that. Yeah.
I love how it's all interconnected so much.
I know. It is, isn't it? It's just, it's this system that what's amazing to me, and even as a scientist, I miss this. Okay, and that's our problem, because as scientists over the last several decades, we've been trained to think from a reductionist standpoint, to narrow everything down, to one or two little causative factors, and so as scientists, that has caused us to miss the bigger picture. And I had to reopen my mind, even as a scientist, to the bigger picture. And once you begin to see the bigger picture again, and you realize that as you, again, make these ecosystems much more intact, just the function of everything just explodes.
I love what you said last night about how nothing in nature is in stasis. Like everything is always changing, and
Right.
like you really have to adapt to that. And,
Yes. Yeah.
So I thank you for talking to me today, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna come talk to you and just see like where could I start really small.
Yeah.
What could I start with?
Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to expand in the future, wherever I end up. It might be a move from Colorado sometime.
Yep.
So I had never considered livestock, but I would absolutely consider starting small. But
Good.
adding in livestock.
Well, and remember too that no matter where you end up, okay, that the principles are the same everywhere. So you don't have to think about changing the principles. All you got to do is wherever you are, apply those principles within that context, and they'll work equally as well.
And how you helped that gentleman that asked about, I believe it was like depleted soil in the Ozark area.
Yes.
I took that to heart because it's not excellent growing conditions where I am right now.
Right.
But there are things growing. I know there are lots of thistles. But aside from that, I love what you said. Don't till it up and start over.
Yes.
Like encourage what's already there. Maybe
Yes.
you have to start with hay, but like encourage what's already there, and things will come. Like nature will come back to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciated that.
Yeah. If you have anything growing there, you have at least some biology, something going on. So let's start there and then build from there, rather than totally crashing the system by going in and tilling it up and then doing an herbicidal burn down and, all of those other things, because now you're truly starting from scratch. Now, I love the fact that you are reclaiming a soccer field.
It's not my land. I'm actually renting a little piece of land from an acquaintance. And she was just thrilled. She's like, what am I going to do with a soccer field? It's literally growing thistles. That's it. And nothing eats thistles. So she said, can you do something with this? And I was really, really fortunate to be able to take it and turn it into food this year for a lot of customers in the area. And I actually had to turn people away. I know enough to be slightly dangerous in the beginning and just kind of experiment with what I know now and see what's going to work and what isn't. I've learned a lot this year, but I don't know. I suppose anything is possible when you approach it the right way from the beginning. So
Well, thank you
so much.
It's a pleasure to meet you.